Okay, it's Randy Chase here. Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is the July 28, 2020 board meeting for licensing contractors. Let's do a quick roll call. Carolyn, do you want to call everybody's name?
There. Andy Allen.
Andy Allen.
Present.
Mark Rudd.
Mark Rudd.
Jerry Hayes.
Jerry Hayes.
Here.
Here.
Lee Jones.
Here.
Ronnie Tickle.
Here.
Keith Whittington.
Here.
And Randy Chase.
Here.
Okay, and we have a quorum. So I will. Okay, Randy, go ahead.
Okay. I know we have some other participants on the call. Do we need to list those out, Carolyn, or just note their names when we get to them?
You know, I meant to do that. Thank you for reminding me because I had sure forgot. I'll go ahead and get our staff on here, and then the other participants, we'll just introduce them as it's their time. But let me make sure our staff is on the line. It's Kathy Holloman.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Rhonda Emanuelson. Rhonda. Okay, Elizabeth Bindle.
Good morning.
JC Gentry.
Good morning.
Kristen Downey.
Hi, good morning.
And Regina Odom.
Good morning.
And was Kristen Downey at the meeting last time, or is this your first meeting, Kristen?
This will be my first one.
Okay. Well, welcome aboard. She's helping with while Dennis Gregory is on a long vacation in Kuwait. So I know he's really missing being here. I think he is missing being here. And but if you want to, Randy, go ahead and adopt the agenda.
Okay, great. I need a motion to adopt today's agenda, please.
This is Jerry Hayes. I make the motion.
This is Mark Rudd. I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay, the agenda is adopted. Carolyn, do you want to read the statement of necessity?
Yes. The Board for Licensing Contractors is meeting by electronic means to conduct essential business as authorized by Governor Lee's Executive Order number 16 and extended by Executive Order number 51. This is considered a reasonable measure to protect the safety and welfare of Tennesseans while ensuring government businesses may continue in a manner that is open and accessible to the public. All votes by the board will be by roll call. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Carolyn. Do we want to move to PSI Services? Alan Schwartz. Is Alan on the line?
Yes, this is Alan Schwartz with PSI. How are you guys?
Good.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Just to give you,
Carolyn,
yeah, I'll fill everybody in. We discussed at the last board meeting about virtual testing, and I think everybody seemed to be interested. They just had some questions and wanted to talk to someone from PSI. And Alon Schwartz he is actually the one that gave us the presentation a while back to some of the directors. And with the COVID pandemic, it's looking like this would be the way to go. That more and more people or government agencies are moving to virtual testing, or I think they might call it virtual or proctoring. But I'll let Alon get on and explain a little bit more. And then, but Alon, if you want to just give them a brief overview and then let them ask some questions, I think that'd be great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for letting me participate. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
I can.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. So I'll just keep talking. I know with everyone sort of in a different place, it's a little bit difficult, but if you have any questions while I'm going, just please feel free to interrupt me. No problem at all. Otherwise, you'll just hear me talking. So thanks, Carolyn. As Carolyn mentioned, we, us at PSI, we are now doing more and more of what we call remote testing, remote or online testing. You kind of hear those interchanged. And to really simplify that, what that means is candidates now have the option. We still give the candidates the option to take the exam via the test center. But now they have the option for those programs that allow it to be able to take the exams remotely. And so with everything that's gone on with COVID, it has sped up those conversations with clients in terms of what exactly is remote proctoring. Is it as secure? On the state, we do a lot of remote testing for a lot of our national certification programs in the kind of the state regulatory, our list of clients, which that's the part that I oversee, and obviously your board is one of them. That's something that's just started recently. We now have about 5 or 6 of those that are doing this, what we call dual modality, where they're both taking the exam. Either they have the test center or at home. Currently, most of our clients that are using this are in insurance, some of our insurance clients. We do have a couple of our real estate clients that are coming up. And then construction is something, obviously that we're discussing now. What we've done is, so we have a platform where the candidates are able to take the exam from home. And what they do is, as part of it, there is a system compatibility check, meaning we have to ensure that your computer and everything associated with it is compatible to take the exam. So obviously you need to have good internet at home. The key is you have to have a webcam. We are proctoring you virtually. So when you're sitting at your computer from home or wherever you are, we have a proctor that's watching you through the webcam. Let me stop there just for a second to see if anyone has any questions before I continue. Okay, I'll keep going. So there's a compatibility check. The other thing that we have for all of these remote proctors exams is part of the thing is the candidate has to download what we call a secure browser. Because you are taking the exam really over the internet, we are going to lock down your computer as you're taking that exam. So meaning you cannot go to any other web pages while you're taking that exam. The other things that kind of some nuances of it, and these are the parts where, if we do decide kind of to move forward with your program, that some of the things we'll have to discuss, how do you handle exams that are open book? There's obviously security. The security taking an exam remotely exists and is really good. Our software is really good. It detects if your eyes are moving in the wrong direction, if you're looking up or down. We have you scan the room multiple times throughout the exam. But there are certain things that obviously you can't do remotely. When the candidates, for some of your exams that are open book, candidates bring those in. Our proctors kind of check those before they go sit down to see what's in there, and then they also do a check afterwards to ensure that people aren't writing exam questions on the books themselves. So there are some nuances of the security protocols that we would have to kind of work through. before we did something like this. But back to kind of my initial part, like remote testing, like this has obviously become a much bigger discussion due to COVID, but really putting COVID aside, which I know is really difficult to do in today's world, this is the future of sort of testing and test administration. So whether it's in a year and a couple years, I think most of our clients will have gone to this dual modality, what we call a test center and remote prop.
Yeah, mine right here, right under the window.
Hey, I don't know who that is, but this is Randy. Can everybody mute their phones so that we can't hear all the feedback? It feels like there's at least 2 or 3 people that do not have their phones muted. While Elon's talking, please. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions at this point for Elon? Andy, it seems like last time you had a few questions about the open book portion, or somebody did, about books and that kind of thing. Did they answer your concerns, or anybody else on the board?
Hey, Randy, this is Mark. I had asked about that. Is there a way that the proctor checks in all of the material that they are allowed to use for an open book test?
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to do it. It's just, we have not yet done any open book exams, but this is something that we're figuring out as we go. So there are ways to do it. We can have the candidate go through, show the proctor the book beforehand and then after. So there's ways to do it over the webcam. I'm just saying this is something, and one of the big pieces is when we implement a program, we go through the entire security process, and a lot of the security you will have a say in, so there are certain clients that say, if there's an infraction, we want you to end the exam immediately. If you see someone, bring a phone to the desk, end it. There's some that say that'll be a warning, and next time they do it, end it. So there's a lot of security discussions that happen together between us and you, because we want to make sure that it's done in a way that you want, how you want that done, if that makes sense.
So do you have other states that are utilizing this kind of testing for open book exam?
Currently, no, but I anticipate that changing, obviously. At some point, there's going to be the first, and then there'll be many others, but the open book is a discussion that needs to be had because it's a nuance that's unique to certain exams and certain clients and not to all.
Yeah, well, it seems like to me we ought to have those discussions with Aon before we vote on whether or not we want to implement this. That would be my concerns, is we want testing to be legitimate like it has been with the actual proctor that checks people in. So how would we go about that, Aon? Would you come and meet with a couple of us, or would we have a phone call, or
Yeah, I think probably Carolyn, if you want to set something up, I could probably have some of the folks like from our remote proctor team or some from our operations team, so we can kind of dive into that a bit.
Yes, we could do that. We could get something set up, but there are, did you say that there's no remote testing where people have an open book exam, or?
In PSI today, we don't do that. We haven't done that yet, because most of the programs that we have that are open book are in the contractors field, and so we have yet not converted any contractor programs to this remote proctoring. Okay. So we've had discussions with some, including you. So I just think it's a matter of time, but we just have to make sure we do it in a way that you're comfortable.
Right. But there you are offering remote testing. Was it for the insurance agencies?
Insurance and soon to be real estate, yes.
Yes. Okay. But we can still do the remote testing with books. It's just
Yes.
it's just not guaranteed that they're not going to have cheat notes in it, but you all do have them hold up the book and have them flip through it, and might take a little longer, but you could have them flip through it and maybe do a quality control check saying, look at page such and such, something like that, just to, just the idea of how we could. And then you also mentioned you do like periodically scans of the room, and then you've got all that software that can tell if somebody else is in the room, by movements, or if they're keeping their hands under something, it will pick that up. So.
Correct.
So it sounds like it might could work, and I think it'd be good if maybe we could, have a few board members. Of course, we could maybe, I don't know, it might be after COVID. The only thing is, unless you can do it online with it, and that's probably something you can do something online with a board member, maybe to test out an online remote exam, something like that.
Sure. I mean, we could do a demo. Absolutely.
Okay.
We could do a demo. We could do, we could do it virtually. So if you want to, at some point, Carolyn, if you want to give me a couple of dates and times and a couple of people, I'll have one of my team members do that.
Okay, that sounds good. So I guess we won't need the board to vote yet to move forward with remote testing. If you all want to wait and have maybe a subcommittee of board members try out a remote exam and then get back with the board in September.
Yeah, I think that works. Carolyn, why don't you work on that? We'll just get a small group of board members together with the PSI folks and run through that. I think we're going to have to do this eventually, like you're saying. Are we getting some pressure from potential contractors that want to test remotely, or most of them? I mean, what are we doing right now?
Well, right now, most of them are having to wait, but I have got several calls from contractors asking if you can take it online, and but it's because of COVID, and there's just being a backlog from so many cancellations and being rescheduled due to states closing, and it's all over the country right now. So this would alleviate having the online testing of this happening, and like you said, it's going to be the way of the future. I think they say in 10 years it's probably going to be like that regardless. So
okay, well, why don't you work on that, Carolyn, and we'll revisit it here when you can set something up. Okay.
Thank you so much, Alon.
This is Mark. I'd be happy to be on the committee.
Okay, great.
We'll put you on there. We'll put you in charge of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Again, Alon, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for including me. And yeah, Carolyn, let's talk and we can set something up.
Sounds good. We'll do that.
Appreciate it. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay, Carolyn, we got the Southwest Tennessee Community College in Memphis wanting to talk about the residential limited license course. Suzanne Gibson, are you on the line?
Hello, I'm here. Thank you for having us.
Okay.
Yes.
Carolyn, do you want to sort of kick this off as well, Carolyn?
Sure. Suzanne is with the Southwest Tennessee Community College, and they already offer the the residential limited license course, the BCAR at Nashville State and Pellissippi State. And so they're coming before the board today to be approved to offer this in Memphis and to also use one of our actual pre-licensed exam course providers, and that's they're called At Home Prep. They're asking to have them deliver the course at the community college. So, and she sent us a lot of information. I think I sent that all out to the board members a few weeks ago, so I hope you got to review that. But I'm going to let her just get on here and speak a little bit, and then if you have questions, you can ask her these questions. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you, Suzanne.
Thank you, Carolyn. Yes, we're really excited to be here today. We have, quite an audience of people that want to get this limited liability contractor's license. And At Home Prep is the deliverer of the program, and they've been offering it for 10 years at Pellissippi State. So, they're well vetted, they know what they're doing, and it would be a matter of us listing it on our website. I'm already getting phone calls from people asking us if they have it. So some of the people have been taking it through Pellissippi State. There's nobody in the western section of the state that's offering this. The city of Memphis is also very interested in having us get this because there is a lot of building going on in Memphis, even with the COVID pandemic. So it's very needed. Our hospitality industry was really booming, but I'm sure it's going to pick up again. There's a lot of building going on there, and just, a lot of different good things happening in Memphis construction wise. So I just hope you'll approve this so we can kind of help our community develop jobs. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me.
This is Keith Whittington, and yes, I've got a couple of questions. As far as your curriculum goes, we've seen a little bit of an uptick at the board in the last several meetings of BCAR, little contractors that are not complying with, number one, the limits of their license, and number two, the monetary limits as far as that goes. And then they're stepping outside of the boundaries of the restricted license. We've had one or two go into commercial roofing, etc. Will your curriculum touch base on that and assure the board? Can you assure the board that you're going to make sure that they are aware of all these responsibilities?
That would be a question, Keith. And yes, I think, you'll feel assured when afterwards, I can send you a link to what the website looks like, but it says explicitly that, the limit is 125,000. The other way we're addressing that, we are through At Home Prep looking at doing some webinars for the more advanced ones, like the residential, the contractor, and then the full licensing. So if they want to get over that $125,000 limit, we would push them to our seminars, which will probably be a webinar because of COVID-19, but we're working on offering that. But yes, we want to make sure people are really clear when they go in for the limited licensing that they know the cap is $125,000. Now, can we babysit them afterwards? I can't guarantee that, but they are sure going to know, what their limit is going into this. So does that help, Keith?
It does. That's just one of my pet peeves about the restricted license is you are restricted to 125 and you are restricted to remodeling and residential construction, and we need to keep it there.
Absolutely. But then I like, I'm excited that we don't have to make them stay in that box. So if they want to go out, we're there to help them, get to that next level, but we don't want them to cheat, like you're saying. We want them to stay within the bounds of that limited license if that's what they've, if that's what they're registered to do. So thank you. That's a great question, though. We don't want to see them overstep those bounds either. It's not good for anybody.
Hi, Keith. I'm just going to jump in for 1 second. I hope y'all can hear me. My name is Leona White, and I'm the education director here at Home Prep. So I've been working in conjunction with Suzanne at the community college to get this up and running. And I do want to assure you guys, and we've kind of talked through this on our website. We have it listed in multiple places, kind of the legality and the parameters of this license type, and the way in which we're able to offer it in conjunction with a state-approved community college. We also obviously address it within the course content as well. So I do think we've got multiple avenues of making sure that that is covered in a clear manner.
We used to do an interview of every the BCA restricted contractor. We do not do that now. However, it's very helpful throughout the course, and I'm glad to hear you say it, that you do reaffirm that
yes,
they just don't have free reins.
Right. No, we absolutely do address that. And I know we had sent in to the state and to the board, I believe via Carolyn, all the printouts of our course documentation. So it's not only, like I said, it's listed on our website on the informational page. It's also listed when you click into the specific product to purchase the course. And then again, reiterated within the actual course content documentation. So should have the bases covered there.
Very well, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
This is Mark Broad. This course is an in-person course, or is it online?
This is an online course. So I think what Suzanne was saying earlier is that the limited is an online course that we would offer. We have the content to be offered in conjunction with the community college, as she explained. And then going forward, we had talked about perhaps offering some of the full contractor seminars there for the Memphis community, because I know we have done some in the Nashville area as well as the Knoxville area. We were both interested in looking to branch out to the Memphis area, but as we've mentioned already on this call, COVID really has put a bit of a damper on most of the live seminar plans. But that is something that we're going to talk about again, hopefully when things return to normalcy here. And that would be, just to clarify, that would be for the full license. So for the residential, the commercial, the residential, commercial, industrial. So those would be a different license type than what we're talking about here for the online course.
I hope I didn't confuse. I just wanted to let you know that we were planning to offer that. But yes, thank you.
Any other questions?
Spotty has a Facebook question.
Carolyn, do we need to vote on this?
Yes, we'll need to vote to approve them as a provider, a BCA restricted residential provider. So.
Hey, I can listen in on the Tennessee board hearing on Cisco WebEx. I can listen in on Tennessee board for the Tennessee board for our GC license. They're streaming it right now.
Hey, well, can you mute whoever that is that just said that? We know you're listening to it, but can you mute your microphone, please?
Oh, my apologies. Sorry.
Okay, if there's no more questions, do we have a motion to approve the Southwest Tennessee Community College?
This is Mark. I'll move for approval.
This is Keith, and I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? I guess, do we need to do a roll call, Carolyn?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll let you do that.
Okay, Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Jerry Hayes,
Yes.
Rennie Jones,
Yes.
Ronnie Tickle,
Yes.
Keith Whittington,
Yes.
and Randy Chase.
Yes.
Okay. Well, congratulations, Suzanne. You've been approved, so y'all can go ahead
Yay,
and
thank you. We'll be really excited to offer this to our community. We really appreciate it. So thank you so much. And we will be mindful to make sure they stay within those limits, or at least they know that what the limits are. So thank you for your questions too.
Well, thank you so much. It's good to have y'all today.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. Now, Carolyn, we're moving on to Knightset LLC. Do you want to kick that off and maybe hand it over to Andy?
Yes. We have a licensed applicant. The name of the company is Knightset LLC. Her license was denied by the board at the last meeting, and she and her attorney are here today wanting to, I guess, make an appeal to the board, sort of explain some of the deficiencies that were found. And I guess what I can, I guess, Andy, do you want to explain about why it was recommended to deny, or do you want to turn it over to them first?
Well, just to refresh everybody's memory, it wouldn't be a bad idea to refresh. So they had their LLE license, and they were applying for their full CE license. In their license applicant, they put a reference letter from a Mr. Biddle in there. While this was under review, there was also a complaint from another company that this letter of reference has been forged. So upon the review of the full CE license, I just asked Mr. Biddle, which y'all seen in your packet there through the emails, and Mr. Biddle confirmed that this letter was a forgery. So we denied their CE license, and then we also revoked their LLE license for forging letters to the board. So that's kind of where we are at this point.
Just one correction. We, of course, Andy made the motion to revoke the LLE license, and that will require a hearing. So that hearing has not been held so far. So right now, she still does have an LLE license. And Ms. Tisdale, do you want to address the issues for the forged letter? Hello? Is Taylor Tisdale on the line?
Good morning, everyone. Kristen Shields here from Cottney Construction Law. Ms. Tisdale is with a client, so I am hopping in and hope to supply any information that may be helpful to the board and answer any questions and hopefully shed further light on this situation. We had submitted to the board on or about July 8th a packet of information that I hope to provide clarity on the circumstances surrounding this. And we forwarded that to Ms. Lazenby, and I hope that was distributed and I can answer any further questions relating to that. But yes, my client for Knox CET's CE license was denied. And as I stated in that correspondence of July 8th, really all of this has arisen. I truly feel this is a horrible misunderstanding because it's not a forgery, and we have the original. My client has the original letter in their possession, which I've seen, and it has a wet signature. And as I outlined, which I'm happy to forward again if anyone would need it, but there was a letter of recommendation from years prior that Mr. Biddle, and I'll say senior Mr. Biddle, Donnie Biddle, had issued wet signature when my client's husband worked for a different company, Absolute. Fast forward to the end of last year, beginning of this year, my client reached out to Eddie Biddle, Donnie Biddle's son, asking permission, sent a text message, which we've supplied screenshots of that communication along with our July 8th correspondence to the board, and whereby my client asked Eddie Biddle, sent a picture of their original letter and said, can we update this letter of recommendation? And Eddie Biddle said, yes. So my client did just that with the permission of the Biddles. And I think where this has gotten on this runaway train is, as is common with letters of recommendation, just when I ask someone to issue one for me or vice versa, the person for whom it's issued composes it and presents it to the other person for signature. And that's what was done here. So Mr. Biddle did not, and I say senior Mr. Biddle, Donnie Biddle, didn't type it. He didn't prepare it. It's not on his letterhead, and no one's in dispute about that. But he did authorize the contents, and he did apply his wet signature to that. I believe it was in 2011. That original letter when my client's husband worked for a previous company, Absolute. So fast forward to end of last year, beginning of this year, that letter was updated with the Biddles' express permission. And so there has been no forgery, there has been no deceit, and in turn, no grounds for the LLE revocation or the CE denial. And so we just wanted to be transparent and provide that information. It wasn't, I'll admit, it wasn't well provided prior to my involvement, honestly, because my clients didn't know what would be relevant and what wouldn't be. But I have seen that original letter with the wet signature of Donnie Biddle. And so I told my clients, safeguard this, keep it in your possession, and if and when we need to produce it, then I can facilitate that if the board would so like. But in the complaint that came in was from a gentleman named Nick Florentine with Union Electrical. And a little bit of the backstory is my client, Knox CET, was a subcontractor on many jobs under Union Electrical. And I've seen many complaints issued to the board. I have issued responses on behalf of some clients. And one thing that really stood out about this complaint that didn't exist in all the others is it's very clear that there is some hostility and high emotion in that complaint. And it immediately perked my attention to say, I wonder why. And what I further found out was that there was a business deal that my clients declined to go forward with. Mr. Florentine asked for a large portion of their company for free. And by my clients declining to go forward, they just didn't feel it was in their best interest. And given my client continued testing and pursuit of even higher qualifications, it didn't make sense to partner with another company. They had a very successful service business as is, and so they declined to go forward. Well, what happened as a result of that? Union Electrical has really gone on this rampage to slander their name, went to Mr. Biddle. How do you think that Union Electrical got involved in this? My clients provided a copy of the letter of recommendation from Mr. Biddle in response to Mr. Florentine's complaint. That's how it got in the hands of anybody. Why would they supply a forged letter of recommendation when they have dozens and dozens of other positive customer reviews and great relationships in the Knoxville community? Why would anybody realistically, employing our common sense, need to forge a letter of recommendation from one particular person? It doesn't make sense. And so that's why when you really look at Mr. Florentine's complaint, it is all over the place. He is bouncing off the walls, trying to find anything and everything to ruin my client, because his business is hurt by them declining to merge with him. But again, there was just no need. They're doing just fine on their own. And so Mr. Florentine is going about in every way that he can to try to take my clients down for declining to go forward. So, you know, that's kind of the short and skinny. I know I've been talking a lot, but the letter's not forged. I have reviewed what they originally submitted. I wouldn't have submitted that, but then again, they're not lawyers and they're not the board, so they don't really know what's important and what's not. And that's why I wanted to highlight these things that stood out to me as being different from other situations that are brought before the board. And so I hope that helps. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, thoughts, concerns, suggestions. Again, we come to the table transparent, you know, hoping this can reach a resolution. And it's not every day that I jump on a call or ask to be a part of a meeting. But this one was such that it's just gotten in this runaway train, and a contractor who, in my opinion, is not the most ethical and honest person should not be able to manipulate the situation, divert it so far from the truth that licenses that are required for livelihood and to employ other people are no longer. And so I come before the board asking the board to really revisit this and dive a little bit further into the facts. I will do everything I can to help supply information that would be helpful. Because again, this is a letter of recommendation that is not forged. I've seen the wet signature. So again, like I said, I appreciate your all attention, and please let me know what I can provide and answer.
Okay. Any questions? Andy, do you have any questions or anyone else?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I do. So a couple things. First off, the letter that is in these texts is not the letter that's in question. The letter that's in question is the letter that's in the application. And you're saying it's not forged, but it does not have his signature on it. And he's saying it is forged. And you're showing me text messages from his son saying that they could forge his signature. Literally. This is the definition of a forged letter.
There's no intent to defraud. What they did was, and I think it's, again, looking at it with fresh eyes, is they had Senior Mr. Biddle's authorization for that 2011 letter. They asked Eddie Biddle in late 2019, I believe it was, December, if they could update that letter. And the reason they needed it updated was because they have this new company, Knox CET, and it needed to reflect the new company, not the old company where they used to work, which was Absolute. And so they asked Mr. Biddle if they could update that letter, which they did, and they updated it to be a different company and a more current date. And so it wasn't done with any malice. It wasn't done behind the Biddle's back. And that's why I wanted to provide screenshots, just to show that there was a conversation that happened about this.
New York.
This is Ronnie. Why would you submit a letter from somebody in 2011, regardless? Do y'all not, I mean, this is 2020. Do y'all not have any more references prior, like now, in current, rather than 2011? Going back a long ways. I don't understand why would you go back to 2011 to get a letter if y'all have a lot of clients now, and because this is 2020. Did y'all not have any other people y'all could refer back to get recommendations from other than 2011?
No, that's a great question. And really it was, they had a long-standing, decade-long relationship with the Biddles, and it was the ease of it. So, sure, we can supply a laundry list of other recommendations. They had a long-standing relationship with Donnie Biddle, and then a several-year relationship with Eddie Biddle. And so they regularly did work for and with each other. So it was because there was that personal relationship. That's why it was so casual. It wasn't like they barely knew each other and then there was one job conducted. You can see on the tail end of those text messages that they quickly started talking about another job that they were working on together.
I understand what you're saying, but it still doesn't make sense to go back to 2011 when we're 2020.
So you have to take it off.
Tennessee Contractors Board.
Ronnie?
Yes, go ahead.
This is Penny in Manchester.
Could I give you a call back?
I
Okay,
agree with
thank you.
exactly what you're saying. There's no reason that I can see that we should be discussing the fertility of a letter that was launched in 2011. Like you're saying, this is 2020. It may not be fraudulent, but it's at least deception to some degree. I think they need to get a little bit closer to our time frame. And let's find out what they've been doing.
Can I clarify
Work-wise.
something to the board real quick? Because I think that there's a little confusion, and I talked to Mr. Biddle.
Hey, how's it going, brother?
He did write this letter in 2011. The applicant has taken his signature off this letter, wrote another letter, and put his signature on another letter. And through this text, asked his son if they could do that. Mr. Biddle Sr. had no idea this was happening. And this is a personal conversation I had with him. So they've literally lifted the signature off, wrote their own letter, which is not this letter in this text, and put it on it.
Right. So we're all in the middle of at least deception. So there's really no reason to discuss this any further. I mean, it's fraudulent.
Well, and I think if I could please respond, it's not fraudulent. And what deception is there when we got authorization from Eddie Biddle, who is younger. As years have gone on, Mr. Senior Biddle has turned over more and more reins to his son, Eddie Biddle. And so Mr. Biddle is not as actively involved. He is a little bit harder to find. He's not a text messenger. He's not an emailer. And so that's why, because our client, although it may have been a little lazy, I give you that, to go to Eddie instead of saying, hey, prepare a fresh one. They were trying to be as less imposing as possible upon the Biddles. And again, they had that relationship, and maybe it was too casual, but there was no deception there. And I think that, I'm a former prosecutor, and when words like fraud and forgery are used, there has to be that criminal intent or that intent to deceive. And while you and I certainly would have done things a little bit differently, and I wish that they had in hindsight, they didn't have any intent to deceive. And so that's something that I just plead with the board to really look at that and say, if there is this even gray area, is it really warranted? Like I said, Eddie Biddle knew everything about it. If he would have said, no, don't do that, my clients wouldn't have done it. But they didn't think twice about the authorization expressly given by Eddie Biddle, who is in large part running the company in today's age, taken over from his father. So that's why, we wanted to come with full transparency and try to help clear this up. Certainly understand the board's concern, but when you say there's forgery or there's fraud, those are really strong allegations that I would hope would apply to other stronger and more legitimate situations where there's a greater concern than where you and I would have done business a little differently, but they didn't. And the Biddles were casual as well.
This is Keith. Just to clarify something, are we saying that the senior Mr. Biddle signed this letter?
In
Absolutely not.
2011.
You've got an email from Senior Mr. Biddle that says this letter is a forgery.
Okay, that's my point. That's my point.
It, not us.
And I'm with Ronnie on the fact that this letter was originally written in 2011. It has obviously come to light to the board that it's been altered in 2019. Why in the world don't you have some other references with a more recent date that's more relevant to the work that you're completing today? Why do you feel the need to go back and even alter that document? I have a real problem with proceeding any further with this license application.
And if I could respond,
you've done a pretty good job responding, and you've started repeating yourself now.
Well, and that's because the truth doesn't change. And
there's a
with
very
that,
good way. Go ahead, ma'am.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. My phone's kind of cutting in and out. So I'm trying to make sure I don't talk over anybody.
Okay, there's a very good way to at least get started. Why don't they just get a current letter from whatever Biddle it happens to be today, and just show up with it, and we'll discuss this, at the next term.
And that was going to be my next question is what could I help obtain for you all that would help you have clarity and gain peace of mind in reaching a conclusion on this? If it's a current letter, if you would like other letters of recommendation from other folks, I think that, my take on my independent investigation into all this is, the natural fear, I guess, the licensing board puts in people, which is a good thing. As a consumer, want everybody to be held accountable and stay within their limits. But, the Biddles have sort of tried to wash their hands and have said, well, heck, I can't go back on what I've already said because then I'm going to look like a liar. Instead of, the full roundtable discussion having happened back then. And so, that's where I think that some things have just been lost in translation. So I can try to obtain a letter, but I think that the Biddles have, in large part, tried to distance themselves since because they just don't want any question about them before the board. Even if it was a misunderstanding or anything was taken out of context, they just won't, as most people don't, they just don't even want to be in the eyes of the board.
I hear everything you're saying, ma'am. This is Benny from Manchester. Of course, updating this letter, it being current, and also providing, current work history and things of that nature. I don't know why someone would apply for this with a letter from 2011. But now you made a statement about the board and people fearing it. I haven't been around here a very long time, but I will tell you this. This board makes every effort to help the people and help the contractors that we work for and help the residents that they work for. So I appreciate that very little.
Well, and what I meant by that was any regulatory agency, even for my law license, You don't mess with the Board of Professional Responsibility. And so I think that people tread carefully, and I'm just telling you what I've heard from the Biddle. So I can certainly try to obtain this. I do ask, has the July 8th correspondence been circulated to the board? Because with that, we did submit my client's prepared current resume that has their recent work experience to date. I guess I'm happy to send again if that's
Appears to me that would have been the way they should have handled this to start with.
Yeah, I'm not very lenient to any negotiation to something that was submitted. I won't even say fraudulently. I'm going to say with any deception at all. I'm not going to be forced.
So Andy, was the rest of the application in order besides just this letter, or did we ask for more information?
The rest of the application was in order. It was just the fraudulent letter that was the problem.
This is Ronnie. Andy, how'd you figure out it was fraudulent?
There was a complaint that said it was fraudulent, so I called.
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Biddle. Yeah,
okay.
So I called Mr. Biddle.
Okay.
And asked him if he wrote it.
Okay.
And he was adamant that he did not write it, and he was mad as can be about it being forged in his name.
I
which
understand
you could
exactly.
see through the email that he sent us.
Well, thank you for checking things out. I appreciate you.
So how do we want to move forward then, Andy? This is Randy again. I mean, do we need to, I did not see the July 8th correspondence personally, but do we need them to reapply formally, start over again with just new letters
I mean,
of
I think
recommendation?
it would be extremely lenient on the board. This would be my extremely lenient recommendation, is that they get a separate letter of recommendation, which they have in this July, and then they need to retake the contractor's law exam and pass it, because they need to learn that you can't do this.
And we need to update references.
Yes.
And then we'll reconsider it after we get all that in front of us again, because this is pretty murky. Keith, you want to put that in a motion?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
Go ahead, Benny.
Benny from Manchester. This is Benny from Manchester. I'll make the motion. They need to get their business in order and resubmit it to the board.
And retake the business law exam.
Yes, and retake the business law exam.
Did you say resubmit references?
Yes, absolute current references.
I'm sorry, there's more bad.
Yes, I make the motion that they need to retake the business and law exam and submit current references, and if there's some way that we can put a time limit on current, they should be at least within the last 2 years.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is Ronnie. I second it.
Okay. Carolyn, do you want to have a roll call?
Yes.
Motion and a second.
Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Mary Hayes,
Yes.
Benny Jones,
Yes.
Ronnie Terry,
Yes.
Keith Whittington,
Yes.
Randy Chase,
Yes. Okay. So that concludes that discussion, and we will try to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think the approval of the meeting minutes, we need to wait till the next meeting. Is that correct, Carolyn?
Yes, please defer to September, and I'll get these typed up and finalized and sent out to you.
Okay. All right, moving into license reviews and approvals by the board. I guess we've got some discussion mixed in here, so we'll probably have to do these individually, I guess, huh, Carolyn? We can't really group any of them together, I don't think. So we start with the hardships. Do I have a motion that we ratify the hardship as approved by Carolyn and her staff?
I make a motion, we approve the hardships.
We have a motion and a second. Do we need to do a roll call, Carolyn, for this one?
Yes. Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Jerry Hayes,
Yes.
Brittany Jones,
Yes.
Ronnie Tickle, Ronnie Tickle. Ronnie, did you?
Ronnie?
Keith Whittington?
Yes.
Okay. And Randy Chase.
Yes.
And make sure I got Keith Whittington. Did I get you yet? Okay.
You got me.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to temporary license request. We had one sort of off circumstance. Get a lot of feedback. Everyone's got their phone or their computer muted on the call right now. If you would just check that.
Let's see. Keith, have you got your phone on?
I do not.
Put it on mute and see if that takes care of it. Okay, I think it's working.
Okay. So this next item on the agenda is a temporary license request. This was a contractor. Reese and I reviewed this. It was industrial maintenance of Topeka. They were a preferred contractor of UPS, shipping company. In light of the COVID and all the uptick of need for shipping and everything around the country, this company did like 5 projects at one time in 4 or 5 different states. One of them being Tennessee, sort of in a expedited manner. They were awarded a job in Tennessee and then realized they didn't have the adequate license. So in light of kind of trying to help them get on board though and continue with the work and not cause delays for UPS, we assessed them a $10,000 civil penalty and let them continue on with that project. So if you got any questions about that, I'll try to answer it, but they agreed to pay the $10,000 penalty and they proceeded on with the work that they had agreed to do for UPS. So, Carolyn, do we need to approve that, or is it already happened, or? You there?
Sorry, I was looking for my mute button, my unmute, and I was already unmuted. Let's see. I think we can. I don't know. I think we're going to have to vote on that one individually, and then maybe the other ones we can do all together.
Okay.
Okay. So,
All right.
do you need a motion? You'll
Yeah,
need a
do we
motion
have
for
a
that.
motion to approve that the way that Reese and I addressed it?
Randy, this is Keith. I'll make a motion that we approve yours and Reese's actions on this case.
This is Ronnie. I'll second.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, Carolyn.
Okay. Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Hayes. I'm sorry,
Yes.
Jerry Hayes,
Yes.
Benny Jones,
Yes.
Ronnie Tickles,
Yes.
Keith Whittington,
Yes.
and Randy Chase.
Yeah. Okay. Carolyn, moving into the waived interviews, I know we have some that we need to have board discussion on. Once again, mute your phone if you're not talking, right? If you're just listening, please go ahead and mute your device. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to get through this. As soon as you finish talking, try to mute it. So Carolyn, on the waived interviews, I guess we can approve those, and we've got some with factors. Is that how we would need to do it? Carolyn, are you on mute?
Yeah, I was on mute. Let me get my list. Let's see here.
Because I know the top of the interview list. So do we need to just approve the waived ones and then move on to the applications with factors?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the waived interviews, the standard waived interviews.
It's Jerry Hayes. I make the motion.
Keith Whittington, I second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, Carolyn.
Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Jerry Hayes,
Yes.
Benny Jones, Ronnie Tickle, Keith Whittington,
Yes.
Randy Chase.
Yes.
Okay.
Benny Jones is yes.
Got you, Benny.
Okay, now we're moving on to the applications that need some sort of discussion or review. Carolyn, I'm looking at the list. We starting with the top with Tony Gaines.
Okay. This is Keith, and I reviewed this case. On the application, the applicant had actually surrendered his license. I forget exactly what year, but I believe it was 2012. He surrendered his license. He had bankruptcy, and on the application, when he requested a new license or to reinstate the license, he had checked that no, he did not have any, and I forget what the exact term is, any suspensions or anything like that, which he actually did not. He had voluntarily surrendered his license. It kind of gave us a little pause and made us take a re-look at the application, and we've been over the case. I've had a phone conversation with Mr. Gaines. He's gone through several years after the bankruptcy. He's done fine. I think that he will be okay. Mr. Gaines, are you on the line?
Yes, sir. I'm on the line.
Would you like to go ahead and make a statement to the board?
Yes, sir. You know, I was questioned about some of the answers to the questions that I answered on the application. And the first one was associated with, have you ever had a license denied, suspended, or revoked? And I selected no, because I surrendered my license, and they were not. I voluntarily surrendered my license, so it was not denied, suspended, or revoked. And then the next question: do you or persons associated with the business have a record of construction complaints in Tennessee, in any state or Tennessee? I selected no again because at the time of application, I wasn't aware of any complaints that I had against previous companies or myself, due to the fact that I had an attorney hired at the time that was handling all my bankruptcy. He was taking all my emails, and I wasn't made aware of any complaint. So that's why I selected no.
I have reviewed the case. Everything looks fine in my opinion. I do think that we can go ahead and approve the license for the $300,000 limit that he's requesting. I'm getting an awful lot of feedback. But anyway, that's my motion on that case.
Okay. So we've got a motion to approve it as presented after reviewing it. Do we have a second?
This Ronnie second.
Ronnie, I would think that we could go ahead and walk through each one of these and then approve them as a group.
I agree.
After each one is reviewed.
Okay.
I agree. This is Ronnie. Do you want me to go next?
Yeah, go ahead, Ronnie. I'm sorry.
This is Ronnie. I have one. I have two. Matter of fact, the first one is Joseph Kaufman, Builders. This gentleman right here admitted to contracting and completing the house in January 2020. He asked before he ever started, did he need a license from the municipality that he was working in, and also his suppliers and everybody told him he didn't need one. He finished the house, was talking to his electrical inspector, and they were just having a casual conversation, and the electrical inspector asked him about his license. He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you're supposed to have a license." He said, "Oh my gosh, I don't have one." So at that time, he realized he needed a license, and that's when he applied for one. This gentleman's been building in Kentucky on a must have a reservoir up there, and he's been building a lot of houses up there. And the word has got out on the Tennessee line that he's a good builder, so that's why he built this house. And I told him that that appreciated him trying to get his license, and I said that we'd like to fine him $300 for building without a license and go forward, and that's what I recommended on Mr. Kaufman. And the next one I have is Samuel Thompson. This gentleman built a couple houses without a license. And he also asked for to prove him for a BCA and a BCB license. Built without a license. I would like to fine him $250, and he does not have enough experience, in my opinion, to get him a BCB license. He turned in only one project a commercial project was for $45,000, and I am completely against somebody just doing that right there. So I'm willing to give him the BCA, fine him $250, and do not grant him the BCB license till he does something that we know that he can be a commercial builder. That
Okay.
concludes my two.
Okay. Carolyn, on Reese's, his first one, do you have anything to say about it other than what it says on the spreadsheet?
Yes. Let's see.
Salzman.
Yeah, Salzman is fine. It was for unlicensed activity from a job he listed. On the next one for Scott Brown, it's also listed on the legal report. So that one I may need, do we defer it to what the legal report?
I can jump in on that since I have that case in the legal report, Carolyn.
Okay.
And I reviewed, some of the documents you sent to me. From what it looks like with Scott Brown, he disclosed the unlicensed or the projects he was working on without a license on his application. We had also had an investigation on this case, and he had also told our investigator the same thing, that he had, worked on the same number of projects. It's 4 projects total, that he had done them without a license. So I believe Reese's recommendation was $1,000 penalty, and if the board accepts that, I can include that or just do that $1,000 penalty for those 4 cases, since it was the same 4 on the application as well as the investigation. But I can do that $1,000 penalty with the consent order that I was already planning to send if my recommendation was agreed upon. And I actually updated the legal report to match that $1,000 recommendation that Reese had put for those 4 cases as well.
And this is Keith, and I reviewed that through the legal report and had approved that particular ruling there.
I was on mute there and say thank you, Keith. I remember you had done that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And that's all. I think that's all Reese's. Okay, enough. Okay, believe we need to do the next one on the list.
Just Todd from my team. Everybody, please remute yourselves. Everybody, please check your phones and remute yourself, please.
Carolyn, Carolyn, can you hear me?
Carolyn, can you hear me? It's Randy.
Yes, I can hear you, Randy.
Yes, I can hear you, Randy.
Oh, okay. I thought you were throwing bar staggering.
So everybody, please check your Webex and phone and mute yourself if you're on mute.
Please.
Andy, are you there?
Andy, are you there?
I'm here.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
All right, so I didn't hear anything about that W&T contracting. Kind of went out. Andy, is that one okay?
Andy, is that one okay? The W&T contracting?
Yes.
The feedback is terrible. Okay.
Okay.
Benny, yours is next.
Okay, sir.
Home improvement.
Can you hear me?
F Diamonds.
Benny, this is Todd from IT. We can hear you. I think I've tracked down where the echo is coming from and tried to mute that source, so we should be good now.
Okay, I'm fairly new at this. But you're talking about the penalty of $200.
Yes.
Yes, that he, had 2 or 3 occasions of getting outside of the monetary limits.
Okay.
So I think 200 is in order, and I think that's a little bit lenient.
Okay. All right, Keith, looks like you got the last 4. Wolf Ridge Builders.
Okay. Wolf Ridge Builders had started building with a couple of clients, and he built 2 houses for them. And in the process, they had bought another property. I think the way it went, he started work on it. They increased the scope of the work, and he quickly realized he was going to have an increase in his license. At which point in time he started working to get the increase, and he was having a rough time the first of the year trying to find a CPA through the COVID-19. He continued working on the project. However, all the license was in order, and given the fact that the hardships of trying to find a CPA to get all the paperwork and everything done, I'm recommending no fine, just a letter of warning to him, for the future, and let's go ahead and proceed with his license. The next one is Bsu Roofing. This is a BCA r restricted contractor. He's applied for a name change. Investigation revealed that he's already got a website advertising in the name that he is requesting. He's also advertising and has completed some work in commercial roofing, which he is not licensed to. And I wanted to bring it up before the board to see what the board thought. He's got an unpaid civil penalty. He's not been very forthcoming in cooperating with the board. And I would like to hear what the board thinks we should do.
Any thoughts?
We're in a quandary is my thoughts, because This is a little R restricted license. He's already doing commercial work. He's wanting the name change. He's already advertising in it. Are we in a civil penalty phase, or do we need to suspend the license for a period of time?
This is Ronnie. I think he needs a fine and suspend his license for probably 6 months or something like that.
My problem is he's got one unpaid fine. So
I would agree with that. We're clearly into deception. So let's fix it. Fine and suspension.
Keith?
Yes.
I think we would fine him again and then suspend his license till both fines are paid.
This is Ronnie. I'm in agreement. Keith, what do you think?
I think so, but I'm wondering, he probably won't pay him, period, but Jesse, do we have to set a term on the time that his license is suspended when we do the hearing?
If we do the hearing, did you say we would have to set it, or could we do a hearing and suspend his license until the fines are paid? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I believe we could. I've also reached out to this respondent after I received your email from Carolyn. I asked him for the updated financial information that you had requested. He has not gotten that to me yet. I also notified him that he has this $4,000 penalty that's still unpaid after he signed a consent order. He's requested a payment plan for it, but has still not made a payment under that. So when I talked to Carolyn about it, I informed him that, and then informed the respondent that the next step would be that we could discipline him for an unpaid civil penalty, which would be setting it for a hearing and looking at a suspension and or a revocation of a license. So I think it would be well within the board's authority to issue a penalty for violating the terms of his license for the BC r small residential. If we want to issue $1,000 for that, I'm just throwing out a number, issue a penalty for that. And if neither of them are paid, we would have to set that for a hearing. I know our next meeting's in September, but that would give us plenty of time to give notice that this matter will be set for a hearing, and give him the time, 30 days at least, to try to rectify this by paying both penalties potentially.
Okay, then I'm going to suggest that we adopt a $1,000 civil penalty for contracting in a license of another name. I'm also going to recommend we have a $1,000 penalty for contracting in a license to which he is unlicensed. Then I'm also going to make the recommendation that we suspend his license until these fines are paid. Then,
now he's already got a $4,000 license, so he's got to pay $6,000, right?
That's the way I see it.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking too.
And until he gets that paid, then his suspension will be in place. And that I'm hoping that we can get a hearing for that suspension at our next meeting, if not sooner. I know we have to give them a notice. So even if we need to hold a hearing in between that, if that's possible.
I can talk to Carolyn about getting some dates organized for that, if that works for the board. Typically, we give them about 30 days, in terms of notice. So I can talk to Carolyn about trying to find a hearing date. I guess we're looking in August at that point, or early September. So it'll be a little bit before the meeting, but I will talk to her about that.
Very good.
Okay.
All right. The next one I have is, I believe it's Kea Properties. This was a license that had made an applicant. We approved the application back in April. with a reduced limit for the VCA little r, turned right around and has applied for an increase. And
Here are some results from the web.
I don't think it's warranted to go ahead and increase a license only 2 months after he's made his application.
I tend to agree.
Now, the next one I've got, Carolyn, I can't find my paperwork on 61734, the AMES development.
Okay,
61734, it's Brandon Stamper.
Oh, okay. Let me find.
If you could read that off, I'm trying to think that he had bankruptcy and had a complaint filed against him. If my memory is serving me correct, he was in the process of building a couple, 3 houses for a lady and she changed the specifications on some of the houses. And he went into bankruptcy about that time, but if you can help me out just a little bit on that.
Yeah, I mean, your memory's good. Yeah, it was considered an elderly person that he did the complaint with, and we were unable to reach out to the lady that was that filed the complaint, so we don't know if it was settled or not. His attorney wrote a letter saying that it was all taken care of and that no criminal charges were filed against him. But that's pretty much all we have is the information from his attorney.
I wonder if Mr. Stamper's on the line.
See,
yes, sir, I am.
Can you help us out just a little bit here with what's going on?
I can, and feel free to ask any additional questions. I'm going to try and not overwhelm with unneeded information, but it kind of all goes hand in hand. I had built several investment properties for the person mentioned, Ms. Gerber, and was in the process of some other lots that we had bought, doing a few more houses for her. Due to the lots, we had to change the house plans to include basements to drive under. They're just very challenging lots, so some things had to be changed. And in the midst of all of this going on, and the other response that I had gave, part of what triggered everything into motion was we had a federal tax lien that was filed in error, and it just started a domino effect while that was being worked through. We did have some outstanding taxes that were owed. We were working with a local IRS agent. We were compliant with everything. The lien should not have been filed. He stated it shouldn't have been filed. He made contacts for us that it shouldn't have been filed, and they got it removed. But to go through that process, it took about 4 or 5 months, and it just started a domino effect across the board. Ms. Gerber's projects were just a very small portion of everything that we had going on at the time. I think we probably had 40 plus spec houses under construction and multiple subdivisions, and it just started a domino effect with the bankruptcy. And even though Ms. Gerber's stuff fell under that, we still honored and took care of everything for Ms. Gerber. Those houses were completed. Those houses have been sold. They were sold back in early 2019. Is there anything else that I can provide there?
Do you work for multiple investors building houses for them, or was this just a one-time occurrence?
At that particular time, it was not that I was necessarily working for an investor. She was building investment properties as rental properties and selling. So she was not an investor. It was just we were building houses that she was renting. She was not living in them. Currently, if you're asking about the past couple of years, I have been working primarily with the development group.
Any other board member have any questions? Mr. Stamper, I'm going to go ahead and recommend approval of your license. It just let this stand as a warning to you. Try to communicate with your customers and not get them to the point to where if you make sudden changes that they're wanting to file complaints with the board. We don't need any more complaints, okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. So that's all the applications with factors, as we call them. Do we have any other discussion about any of those, or are we ready for a motion to approve them as presented?
Randy, this is Keith. I'm going to make a motion that we approve all of these applications for discussion.
All right, do we have a second?
Yeah, on second.
There's one of those, this is Jerry Hayes, there's one of those I need to pass on. My judgment's clouded from past experience.
Well, let's back up. And which one?
Mr. Gaines.
That's the very first one.
Yeah, I'm good with the rest of them, but I'll just pass on him.
Well, I withdraw my second then. This is Ronnie.
Well, do we need to have further discussion on Mr. Gaines's application?
This is Ronnie. I like to hear Jerry.
Oh, I'm not against him. I just can't vote for it. Like I say, I'm just clouded from past experience.
Okay.
Sometimes leopards change your spots.
Yeah, I hear you.
Well, we still need a second.
Well, when we talked about Mr. Gaines, we felt like he had kind of gotten everything in order with this new application, or he answered all the questions we had. Is that correct, Keith?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
This is Mark, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve these as presented. Carolyn, would you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Andy Allen? Andy Allen?
You're on mute, Andy?
Oh, yeah, no, I shouldn't be. Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mark Brudd?
Yes.
Jerry Hayes?
Pass.
Okay. Benny Jones?
Pass.
Ronnie Tickle?
Pass.
Keith Whittington?
Yes.
Randy Chase?
Yes.
Okay. See, that gives us 1, 2. Okay. The yes passes. Got 4-3.
Well, I think that we've got a little misunderstanding there because we were voting to vote on all the interviews. I hope that everyone is only referring to the one that there is a problem with. Is that the way you see it, guys?
Yes.
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 So do we need to vote on Mr. Gaines separate and do the rest?
Carolyn, since I made the motion, I will make a motion that we approve all but Mr. Gaines at this time, and then we consider that one separately.
Second, this is Ronnie.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve all the ones except the top one, Mr. Gaines.
Okay. Andy Allen?
Yes.
Mark Brudd?
Yes.
Jerry Hayes?
Yes.
Benny Jones?
Yes.
Ronnie Tickle?
Yes.
Keith Whittington?
Yes.
And Randy Chase?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, so.
If we go back and we go over Mr. Gaines's application, he did, in fact, as you heard him say, check no on both of those two items. It is kind of questionable. It raised a flag on my part, but if you think about it, he wasn't suspended or revoked. He did voluntarily surrender it. So he did answer that question correctly. The other part was he didn't know there was a complaint filed against him. And that was by a CPA who had actually filed the complaint because he altered financial documents to obtain his license. Carolyn or Kathy, either one of you want to jump in there.
Okay.
Tony Gaines. Can I speak just for a second?
Yes. Yes.
You're referring to the letter that was sent to the CPA that I've never seen, but I have been made aware of it at this point. And the letter is allegations that the security company had findings of false intentions on a bank statement. That was incorrect. There was never a lawsuit filed on that. It was never proven. There was documents never produced by the bonding agent, the surety company, to the CPA. The CPA was directly going off of the findings of the bonding company, the surety. And so, I mean, like I said, there was never any legal attributes towards this. There was never any, and I believe the only reason why the CPA wrote the letter is because the bonding company was trying to tie him to my mishap at the time, and he wanted to take recourse against me and my previous company. And like I said, all this has been, I've paid. I've been working the last 9 to 10 years since this has happened to correct my wrongs, cover my indebtedness, and I successfully completed that back in June of 2019. Prior to applying for the application or submitting my application, I attempted to contact the board per the phone number on the website. I never got a return phone call after I left voicemails because I wanted to ask specifically about filling out this application and putting all my information out there. My whole case it's all public. When you Google my name, you see these allegations. They were never proceeded upon. They were never proven allegations. And all my indebtedness is paid. And it has been a tough 9 to 10 years. And I mean, I've worked my tail off to get back to this point, to come to you guys and request a license. I have no intentions of doing anything faulty or filling out an application wrongly. I'm just trying to better myself and my family. And I appreciate you guys taking that into consideration.
Tony, you mentioned something during the interview that we're getting an awful lot of feedback from somebody. You had mentioned to me that you were only going to want to build 2 or 3 houses a year. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's it. Maybe a couple flip houses. My wife's in the process of pursuing her real estate license. We've talked about maybe building a couple houses, maybe flipping a couple houses, and that's my intentions. I do have an excavating business. I'm looking to grow my excavating business, which is the reason I selected the classifications of HC, MU, and HRA. I want to do that small. I don't want to overgrow this company like I have previously in my past. I want to stay small. I want to grow my company properly. My financial stability, I want it to continue to support the work that I'm doing. And that's all I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to go out here and build $2 million facilities.
Okay, then what I would like to propose is we, along with the HC and the MU and the HRA, that we just, instead of the full BC, we do a BCA. That will allow you to do the 2 or 3 houses a year. You plan on, plus it'll allow you to continue to do your grading business.
Okay, so that'll include the HC, the MU, and the HRA?
Yes.
I'm perfectly fine with that.
I do think that 8 to 10 years is long enough to penalize this applicant. So rather than me make a motion, I'm going to leave it up to the board from there.
Any other questions or discussion, or can we get a motion?
Keith, this is Ronnie. There's so much static and everything. What kind of motion are you making? I couldn't hear anything.
What I'm proposing is, Ronnie, that we go ahead and approve the license instead of the full BC that he's applied for. Do the BCA along with the HC, the MU, and the HRA.
Okay.
And it's a $300,000 limit.
Okay.
And I don't think that that's going overboard. I think that would be plenty good enough and hold him back, keep him from getting too big like he did before. And it like he said, it has been 9 or 10 years since the bankruptcy, and everything has been settled. And I think that he has paid off the bonding company as well. And it was a settlement that, as far as I remember, the bonding company payment was a settlement that was reached and agreed to by a judge. So he's made all these commitments. I don't know how long we can penalize somebody, really.
Well, being that we set it for 300,000, he'll have to wait a year if he wants to come back and increase his limits, correct?
Oh, at least.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Thank you, Keith. This is Ronnie. I second what Keith said.
So Keith, are you putting that forth as your motion?
Yes, Randy, I will.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Carolyn, can you run a quick roll call, please?
Yes. Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Jerry Hayes,
Jerry?
Yes.
okay. Did you say, Jerry, did you say yes?
I did.
Okay. Benny Jones,
Yes.
Ronnie Tickle,
Yes.
Keith Whittington,
Yes.
and Randy Chase.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, let's have it.
All right. Okay. We ready to move on to contractor revisions?
Yes.
Can we get a motion? Ready to move on to lunch?
I guess it's being served, isn't it?
Yeah. So, we have a motion to approve the contractor revisions.
This is Ronnie. I make the motion.
Can we get a second?
This is Benny. I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Carolyn?
Okay. Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Jerry Hayes,
Yes.
Benny Jones,
Yes.
Ronnie Tickle,
Yes.
Keith Whittington,
Yes.
Randy Chase.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, then we'll go through these. Andy, I'll start with you on the limited license electricals, and I'll do the LLPs, and then we'll do the home improvements, and maybe we can handle all those together.
Okay. All the LLEs have been waived. Do you need me to read those in, Karen?
No, none of them's denied, so we can go by the list.
Okay, so all the LLEs that as presented were approved.
That's correct.
And okay, and then we had one LLP that I approved, and so we're good there. What about the home improvements? Were they all fine?
Yeah,
Carolyn?
all of those on the list are approved or
Okay.
yeah, recommended approved.
All right. So do we have a motion to approve the LLEs, LLPs, and home improvements as presented?
I'll make the
Andy
motion.
Allen makes the motion.
Had a motion and a second, I believe. So
Was there a
quick
second?
roll call.
Okay. Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Jerry Hayes,
Yes.
Benny Jones,
Yes.
Ronnie Tickle,
Yes.
Keith Whittington,
Yes.
and Randy Chase.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, y'all, before we move on, did y'all catch this two broke bartenders on the home improvement? It's amazing what COVID does.
All right.
Yeah, we've never
What,
had that name before.
Okay.
That's pretty good. All right. What about the moving on to the legal report? Jesse, you want to take over from here and help us with that?
Yeah, well, let me see. I'm just going to pull it up real fast. Two documents. I did get most of, I think, cases 1 through about 102 maybe. So there were some. I'm going to ask a couple questions, see if there were any changes. But I'll start with the ones that we have to change that we did get some responses on. Number 2 on the legal report, which is case number 20200282221. The recommendation was to either close or do a letter of warning. And the board's decision was to do a letter of warning. Let's see. Then we go down to case number 9 on the legal report. Let's see, this is case 20200222521. The recommendation was either close or a letter of warning, and the decision was to close. Next, we move on to number 12. Case number 20200244741. Recommendation was either a letter of warning or close, and the decision was to close that one. Next, we move on to number 15, case number 20200279991.
We were going to agree to everything that you wrote there, allowed respondent 90 days to make final repairs and assessment of a penalty.
Okay, and that's what I thought, that we were just going to, I guess, send the respondent that information.
Yeah.
They can make the repairs, and if not, then move forward with that assessment of the penalty.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so next is case number 18, which is case number 20200013051. Recommendation was either close or a letter of warning regarding the respondent's issues, and the decision for that one was to close. Next, we move on to number 24, which is case number, just pulling that one up. Case number 20200279931. Recommendation was either to close or do a letter of warning. And the decision was to do a letter of warning. Then we have case number 25 in the legal report, case number 20200287771. Recommendation was close or a letter of warning. The decision was to do a letter of warning. And then we jump all the way down to number 42. Just gonna get down to that one. Number 42 on the legal report, which is case number 2001921. Recommendation was either close or a letter of warning. The decision was to do a letter of warning. Then we had number 52, and I believe there was a recommendation to have a little bit of a discussion on this case. This is Kristen Downey's case, so I'll let her have a discussion on this. But this was case number 20200211781. Her recommendation was to authorize the assessment of a $500 civil penalty for failure to respond to the complaint. And based on the number of complaints, I believe the board member wanted to have some discussion on this.
Hi, everybody. So just some background on this particular respondent. By the way, I'm Kristen Downey. I haven't had a formal introduction of myself, but I'm Kristen Downey. I haven't worked on the Contractors Board before, but got a good handle on things. And I did want to talk with you guys about this particular respondent. He's got several different complaints that have been filed against him. Many of them were a result of his failure to maintain the monetary or stay within his monetary limits, as well as poor craftsmanship, and also allowing individuals who weren't his employees and were unlicensed subcontractors to work up under this particular respondent's license. So there have been several different things that this person has done. All of the complaints are outstanding. I filed, or all of the consent orders are outstanding. I filed 2 of the matters to have heard at the September meeting. At this point, as far as I know, we haven't gotten service of process. So my thoughts on this was to go ahead and amend the notice of hearing to add in this last complaint where they just didn't respond, and just do all of them at once, since we still have time to amend it. I haven't gotten a response from this person, and we haven't gotten service of process yet, and we still have plenty of time to do that. So I would say we go that route and just amend the notice of hearing and go ahead and add that more recent complaint, hear all of them together, and give the respondent an opportunity to respond to it and be heard before the administrative law judge and the board.
You did mention, Kristen, that he's not responded. Is that correct?
So the respondent hasn't provided a response to this most recent complaint. I have had a chance to speak with this person on the phone. And at the time, they were saying how they wanted to comply with the consent order. This one, I think, is like it's really high. I think it's maybe like $15,000 or something. So it might be five. I can't recall the exact number for the past consent orders, but they were just wanting to get it over with and pay the consent order. But then, I never heard back. I tried to call again, still haven't heard anything. And then this most recent complaint, still haven't gotten a response. So I'm kind of at a loss here. I tried to work with this person and just nothing has come out of it. So this is just where we are.
Just so the board will know, this is another BCA little r contractor. And I think we've got to send a message here to these guys that they're just not allowed to run rampant with their license. I think we need to move toward a suspension again unless they pay the fines.
So what I could do in that situation, I could go ahead and amend that notice of hearing to add that in there rather than just the civil penalty. Are you wanting it to be a situation where they're suspended until they pay the civil penalty, or just a suspension and no civil penalty?
No, they need to be a civil penalty for this particular case of $500, which is the recommendation. And they also need to know that they will be suspended until they have paid all previous civil penalties.
Okay, make a note of that here. So that will just require me to amend the notice of hearing to add that language in there. And like I said, I have time to do that. This person hasn't filed an answer yet. So it would be relatively easy for me to get that done, but I'll make sure that that language is clear, and I'll add that other complaint as well, and increase the civil penalty to the amount that would include that latest complaint.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to number 57 on the legal report, if there's no further discussion. This is case number 2020-000821. And the recommendation was to this was actually a represented case, and the recommendation was either close or do a letter of warning. And the new decision was to close that case. Then we have number 59 on the legal report, and this is 2016072531, as well as 2016075051, 2016075052. And this was a represented case with a recommendation to close. And it looks like that was accepted then as well. And then we have number 62, which for some reason does not have a complaint number on the actual report. So I can follow up to see what that actual complaint number is, make sure it's added when the whole report is accepted. But the recommendation after this being represented was to close. And this one had a note to discuss as to why the licensee should be able to keep the license. This is Shalina Brown's case. I don't believe she's on the call, but I have looked into this case to be able to answer the board's questions. Unless Shalina, are you there? Okay, I don't think she's here. But I know the board had flagged this one as to ask why the licensee should be able to keep their license. It appears that this respondent, there were some issues originally with the construction of a home. This was an older case back from 2015. Multiple issues with some of the craftsmanship of the home, as well as the respondent's responses to this individual. And the respondent didn't respond to the customer inquiry. So that's why we had initially done a $1,000 penalty, which has not been paid since 2015, so that's still outstanding. And it appears now that Ms. Brown's recommendation is to close it based on the respondent not having any further complaints or previous complaint history, as well as some active litigation that's still ongoing with this case, which the respondent has denied some of the issues and filed countersuits for libel against the complainant based on the statements that they've made regarding the completed work. The respondent does not appear to be necessarily building homes at this time, but he is uses his license, I suppose, as an expert witness in hearings. So I think that this was one that the board wanted to discuss as to whether or not he should either be suspended or revoked, either due to the outstanding penalty or I suppose potentially because he's no longer building.
Jesse, this is Keith again.
Mm-hmm.
I was the one that took a look at that, and to be honest, if he's not building houses, why does he need a license? He, in my opinion, is a very poor expert witness to go through the problems that he's had with this complaint. I don't know why we need to entitle him to have the license just to be an expert witness. That was my point of discussion.
Thank you, Keith. And I think that makes sense as well in terms of what he's actually attempting to do. I do know that there was an issue that Ms. Brown had pointed out that we no longer have the expert who provided the inspections on this original case. But based on this, outstanding issue from about 5 years ago with this consent order still out there, I think that we could still move forward with some type of hearing. So either, I guess you could either keep that penalty, that original penalty, and either he could pay it, or notice of hearing and charges could be filed, or if you would like to go with a new decision, that would be something the board could decide.
What was the original penalty?
$1,000.
I think we need to at least keep that $1,000 penalty. And then once he pays it, let's go ahead and close it.
Okay, I think that makes sense. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on then to case number 77 on the legal report if there's no further discussion. Let's see, I'm just moving to that one on mine. That is case number 20200284441. And the recommendation for this one was to do a $500 civil penalty for unlicensed home improvement activity. And the decision was to do a $1,000 penalty instead, based on that unlicensed home improvement activity. Next would be number 80 on the report, which is case number 20200278841. The recommendation was to authorize the assessment of a $500 civil penalty for unlicensed contracting. The decision was to do $1,000 for the unlicensed contracting. Next, we have number 85 on the legal report, which is case number 2020034. The recommendation on this one was to refer to the district attorney for prosecution or authorize the assessment of a $1,000 civil penalty for unlicensed home improvement activity. The decision was to refer this case to the district attorney. Next, we'll move on to case number 88 on the legal report, which is case number 202003551. The recommendation was to authorize the assessment of a $500 civil penalty for unlicensed activity. The decision was to do a $1,000 civil penalty for unlicensed activity. Next, we have case number 91, which is also Ms. Downey's case. That's 20200388811. And there was a discussion as to her recommendation was to close and flag it. And there was a note to discuss this one as to either doing a civil penalty or a letter of warning. So I will let Ms. Downey speak to that.
Okay, so for this matter, I recommended the closure and flagging because it's not, based on the information we have from the complainant, we don't meet that $3,000 threshold. And while, I did some background research just to see if I could find anything that could provide concrete evidence that the respondent was actually or has been doing work that does meet that threshold. I didn't find anything definitive, so I thought closing this one and flagging it in the event, that we get another complaint or this person tries to apply for licensure, we can ask those pertinent questions or try to get more evidence then if it comes up. But I am also okay with doing the letter of warning, but I would advise against a penalty at this point just because we don't have enough information to rationalize a
Kristen, this is Keith, and I reviewed that again, and I'll go along with your recommendation on that one then. Just close and flag.
All right, I got it.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'll move on to case number 93 report. This is case number 20200342881. The recommendation was to authorize the assessment of a $500 civil penalty for unlicensed contracting. The decision was to instead do a $1,000 civil penalty for unlicensed contracting. Then we move on to number 96 on the legal report, which is case number 202003581. The recommendation was the assessment of a $500 civil penalty for unlicensed contracting, and the board decision was a $1,000 civil penalty for unlicensed contracting. Next, we do have number 97 on here. Went a little bit too far there. Number 97 on the report is case number 20200365541. And the recommendation for this one was to either recommend voluntary revocation of the respondent's home improvement license or authorize the assessment of a $4,000 civil penalty for unlicensed activity. The decision for this one was to do the $4,000 penalty, but still make it clear that further discipline could lead to more harsh discipline against the respondent. He's had some previous complaints, so without doing the voluntary revocation this time, just making it clear that that's on the table if there are further complaints, as well as that $4,000 civil penalty. Let's see, so number 98 then is the next one. That's case number 202031251. The recommendation was either to close and flag it or authorize the assessment of a $500 civil penalty. And the decision was to close and flag it. I did not get any other than the addendum, which I think everyone received later, which added case number 117. I didn't receive any other decisions on cases after that, after 98. So if there were any other board members that had any other changed recommendations or questions, I would like to see if those are, if there are any changes at this time.
Are you just
Any
asking
other
about the residential cases?
We've gone through all the residential, so now we're on the commercial ones. I didn't receive any changes on the commercial ones.
Well, and I've been thinking about this one, but number 107.
Okay.
And I don't know if we can do this or not, but as a subcontractor, it really concerns me. Can we reduce their monetary limits to $1 million?
Did you do lower monetary limit? Is that what you were?
I can't understand you.
I'm sorry, feedback there. I'm not sure where that was coming from, but I think you had said to lower their monetary limit. Is that your question?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're having a really hard time managing their money, and they're using subcontractors' money to pay other subcontractors to stay afloat.
Right.
And the way I read it, and this is I think I could plead a very good case that they should not have an unlimited license.
I think that makes sense. One of the issues with this case, they are still working on it. So I know the complainant was hoping that respondent would be able to get everything finished before the board met. And they have been very slowly making progress, but I think that would make sense. We could do that in a consent order, with or without a penalty, but requesting that they voluntarily lower or consent to having their monetary limit lowered. Did you have an amount in mind that you had thought about lowering it to?
I would think $1 million. I wouldn't think somebody that's doing that needs to be doing over $1 million job.
Okay. And are you thinking a consent order or a civil penalty as well, or just the voluntary lowering of the monetary limit?
I think that would suffice.
Okay, I was just making some notes here. I think that makes sense. Do a consent order where they would voluntarily consent to their monetary limit being limited from unlimited to $1 million. Andy, did you also review number 105 on the report? I said that was one that we had recommended either closing, flagging, or doing a penalty. Did you have a decision on that?
It was just close and flag. Yeah, I agreed with your close and flag. And then on 106, I thought 500 was a little lenient. I would do 1,000.
Okay. So
and
on
the rest of
106,
them.
1,000. Okay.
Yeah, and the rest of the other one for 112. The letter of instruction. I don't see any harm that could come of that.
Okay. I'm just going to make a note real fast before we move on to the
And
addendum.
everything else I agreed with.
Okay. Perfect. So I'm just going to make a note for 112 for that letter of instruction real fast. Okay, perfect. That's the last case on the regular legal report. We did submit an addendum. Did everyone receive that with an additional case, number 117? It's a residential case. I think we have received that to review.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you receive the full update that I wrote yesterday on that one, or did you just have that shell of it with the fact that it'd be discussed?
I read the full update, and it's alarming. This is a BCA contractor. He's building a swimming pool. Just for those that might not be aware, he started the pool, pulled off the job. Don't think he's made much of an attempt since he pulled off the job to come back. He was paid an enormous amount of money to start with. This is their original contract was $225 or $240. His license limit was $250. They signed an agreement a couple of months into the project to expand the project, which put it over his license limit. He's drawn, Jesse, tell me how much. I can't remember the amount because I don't have it in front of me.
I believe he's been paid a total of about $246,000.
He's taken that money. The pool is nowhere near finished. The owner had to hire a new contractor to come in. They paid $500,000 not only to correct his deficiencies, but to finish building the pool. Enormous amount of money. Must be a beautiful pool now that hopefully it's finished. But this guy, short of revocation, he doesn't belong in the contracting business. And it would be my recommendation that we move for a revocation of his license.
And assessment of $10,000. And we got an assessment of $10,000 civil penalty.
You want to do 10,000 as well? 10,000 and
Yes.
revocation? Okay.
Yes.
And that
Do
was my
both.
recommendation. Okay, perfect. I will include that in there.
Keith, don't you agree?
Yes, I do, Ronnie.
Okay.
And I think just one thing to add to it as well, there was a concern originally when the board previously reviewed this case. The complainant was arrested for harassment of the respondent. The complainant's provided some more details with that. Basically, he had told the respondent, you need to come finish this pool because you've only done about 20% of the work. You'd only worked for 12 days on it, and you've been paid almost the full contract amount. And the respondent kept saying, we're short-staffed, we can't do it. And the complainant ended up telling him, well, I'll harass you and write, bad reviews until this is done. And the respondent then took that to the DA's office, had him arrested for harassment. Those charges have been dismissed, but that was something that when we previously were reviewing the case, the respondent kept telling us that this individual was harassing him and not to believe him, and has made no attempt either to fix the project, fix his deficiencies, or refund any money for the overpayment that he's received.
Yeah.
So I will put the decision for that one, the $10,000 penalty and revocation. If there's no further discussion for the legal report, that would conclude the rest of the cases for it.
All right. Any other comments on the legal report? Do we have a motion to approve the legal report as presented and amended?
Motion, Ronnie.
You have a second?
Second. This is Keith.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Carolyn? We lose you, Carolyn?
Yep, I was talking
Carolyn,
about
you
that. Okay, let's try again. Andy Allen,
Yes.
Mark Brudd,
Yes.
Jerry Hayes,
Yes.
Vinnie Jones,
Yes.
Ronnie Tickle,
Yes.
Keith Whittington,
Yes.
and Randy Chase.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Carolyn, you want to go over any updates that you might have related to budget, et cetera?
Yes, yeah, I can go over those real quick. It looks like we're going to have a little more money than we did last year, which is really hard to believe, but we're hoping to give Go Build around 105,000. And what we gave them last year was only around 77,000. So based on our estimate, that's what we have right now. So hopefully it'll stay around that amount. And I think I sent you all the legislation where we've been extended till 2026, and thankful for Randy going up the hill every time we called him at the last minute. And we did have 2 formal hearings this month. They were held virtually, just like these meetings. And we did get one decision back, and the judge kept the board's amount on one of them. He actually went $11,000 plus court costs, so $1,000 more than what you all had asked for. So that's a good thing. And I think that's it. Go Build might be on the line. I don't know if they want to provide any kind of update or not. Brian, do you want to give an update?
Yeah, thank you, Carolyn. Can you folks hear me?
Yes.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Brian Kelly. I'm the executive director for Go Build Tennessee. Our nonprofit has been in a bit of a state of flux as COVID-19 has turned our programming on its head. Our social media campaigns continue, and we do show continual engagement and interest, but our grassroots campaign had to cancel over 10 scheduled events, and my board has elected to use this downtime to develop a new strategic plan with some new program content. Right now, we're working on developing a new hands-on workforce training program in cooperation with the successful Colorado Home Building Academy. However, our launch has been a bit postponed due to the pandemic. We anticipate rolling out our pilot program in the coming months, depending on how COVID-19 continues to shape our state's affairs. We aim to run several small-size boot camp style crash course programs as our initial pilot, and we're targeting Nashville and the Tri-Cities area for the pilots themselves. Our goal is to create training opportunities that address job site safety, specific trade skills, and create job site readiness amongst young people that are looking for careers and may otherwise lack exposure to construction as a career. We believe that by creating short-term targeted training opportunities around our state, we can drive career engagement and begin to build a pipeline of candidates for the many open positions around our state. Does anyone have any questions about that at this time?
No, I don't. But it's got to be pretty bad, pretty hard to do any kind of outreach with the schools mainly closed and with COVID. But thank you for giving us an update.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Yep. Thanks, Brian. Anything else, Carolyn?
That's it. Unless our attorney, Elizabeth, do you have anything? I think that's everything.
I do not, no.
Okay, good.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay.
All right.
Second.
And need y'all to vote or we'll stay in session until a few months.
Carolyn, do you want to give everybody an update on Reese, or maybe everybody already knows, but I think he's going home from the hospital today. Is that correct?
Yes, Reese is going to be, he's supposed to be released from the hospital today and seems to be doing pretty good. He says he's getting better every day.
What procedure did they do on him?
I think it was plastic surgery. No, I shouldn't have said that. Well, I'd take that off the record, won't we?
No,
but
let's leave that on the record. This is Manchester. Let's leave that on the record.
Yeah, but no, I never did hear exactly what it was that he had done. So
good to hear he's getting better.
Well,
yes.
Yeah, when we record his smile, we'll call it plastic surgery, and he's 39.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Carolyn, thank you to you and your staff for keeping everybody headed in the right direction, and for all the board members getting everything approved. But I think the staff does a tremendous job.
Thank you so much. I do need y'all to vote to adjourn though.
Okay.
Okay. But thank you everybody for all your time today. And Ronnie, I'm sorry we didn't get a lunch break.
Yeah, me too.
All right, let's vote. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Can you do a roll call, Carolyn?
Yeah. Andy Allen?
Adjourn.
Mark Brudd?
Yes.
Jerry Hayes? I'll take that. Beanie Jones?
Yes, adjourn.
Keith Whittington?
Yes.
Randy Chase?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, I'm ready to adjourn too now. You've left me out.
Did I leave you out?
Yeah, but that's okay.
Ronnie Tinkle.
Yeah.
Just say yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank y'all so much.
All right, thanks.
See you guys.
All right, bye y'all. Bye-bye.
See y'all.